Hey everybody, I'm back. We're back. I've been away for a while, but I've been busy. I'm living life. So we're back. I want to say hello to my friend Josh sitting over here.
Yo,
Hi, Josh. And Brent is somewhere over there.
Yeah, I
There
was
he
missing.
is.
I was going to put myself on the milk carton.
Hi, guys.
We
I'm
found
sorry.
him.
I'm out gallivanting around the world getting
Hey,
things done.
how was SeaWorld, Andy?
I, did, I didn't go to SeaWorld, but I did. I was by the sea. Um,
Josh was saying that Andy was away at SeaWorld. And so the other day when you posted something, I laughed my ass off because some girl posted, Andy, how was SeaWorld? And I think she really thought you were there.
I was
That
not at
was
SeaWorld.
Shatman
I'll
Cindy.
clarify that. I was
all
in
right.
Hilton Head.
Sometimes you don't go with the truth, you go with the legend. All
Right.
right.
Print the legend.
You
It's
were
fun.
you were at SeaWorld.
Swim with
You
orca.
know, you were swimming with dolphins, eating a lot of fish fillet, and enjoying yourself.
I was taking a well-earned vacation from moving. It's somebody's got to live this life. And I volunteered for it, so I'll take it. So real quick, I guess we want to talk about first and foremost, this happy birthday to the one and only Eric Levy.
Eric,
Look at
we
that.
love you, buddy. Happy birthday.
Eric Levy, the current keyboardist in Night Rangers since 2010, 2011, right in there.
And I'm
Nice.
gonna say a friend because we're Facebook friends. So I'm gonna say he's a friend.
Hey, he likes my post.
I'll take whatever I can get. Right. Oh, and
Birthday, Eric.
we're recording this sadly on October 6th. I think Josh had another plan for this episode, but we have just at the time of this recording have just learned of the death of the legend, the one and only Edward Van Halen. So Josh has, I think wisely, we've decided to just pay tribute to him, give Night Ranger a rest for the day, and dedicate this show to the one and only Edward Van Halen.
65 years old, man. And it makes you realize how lucky like I said, we've said in other episodes, how lucky we are to, with Night Ranger is, all those guys are still here and they're still going. They're still putting out music, and you just never know when, something like
Yeah.
this is going to hit. And even though he's had cancer for a few years, you're still not really prepared for it, or you think, if anybody can beat it, it's
A god could beat it, you would think.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he is, he's older than most everyone, all the original members of Night Rangers except for maybe Brad. So, yeah, it's
Fitz.
just
Is he older than Fitz? Yeah, no. Fitz is older.
Fitz is the
Sorry.
oldest.
Oh, no, I heard you wrong. I
Yeah.
apologize.
Jeff might be the only one I'm not
Yeah.
sure off the top of my head, but so yeah, just it never you never quite accept it. I mean, I've been telling people this is going to be more common than more. It's just going to be more common. It's just, and
And
it
it's
is,
not.
and it is common now. It's gotten to the point where it is. We just lost Frankie from Quiet Riot.
Well, the
Now,
year started with Neil Peart dying.
yeah. So these guys who have been a part of our life, we've got to realize are up there, and it's unfortunately just going to get
Yeah.
worse. And
I-
if you have the opportunity to, when concerts kick back up, to see these guys, your heroes, you go do it, because you just
Yeah,
never know.
You have to go. And I'll give you a second here, Brent. But I usually, when I post something on Facebook, for example, when someone like this dies, I always post at the end, our childhood is dying. And not that Eddie was part of my childhood, so to speak, but Brent and I were lucky enough to, we were we were just cutting our musical teeth when Van Halen was taking over the universe.
Top of the world.
So,
pardon the pun.
And I've said it to many people. You guys, Brent knows this for sure. Josh, you'll learn this because we're still kind of new in our friendship. I travel a shit ton for concerts, and part of it is like you just said, I don't know when I'll get to see some of these guys, or if I'll get to see some of these guys again. You know, they're dying, and just go. I mean, I go to see Night Ranger as often as I can because when God forbid, the time that Night Ranger ends, I can say, hey, I saw him 40 or 50 times. So anyway, Brent, I'll give you a minute there to speak of Edward, and then we'll go around the horn and just talk about it.
Eddie's been supposedly on the deathbed per the internet for about a year. You know, we all knew something was up when they released that picture of the their, what do you call them? The flight cases, the road cases.
Yeah.
They had repainted, and Michael Anthony was going to rejoin Van Halen, and all of a sudden it just stopped. And then it was early this year was when David Lee Roth joined the Kiss tour, and he was saying how someone had to carry on the Van Halen name. It was going to be him. And at that point in time, they were showing pictures of Eddie, and the rumor was he was on his deathbed. And then a video came out of him shopping somewhere, walking down the street, meeting some guy. He looked great. And then I'm in the car today coming home, and I'm listening to WLW. They talk about his passing, that he had brain cancer, that it spread to his brain. I wasn't prepared to hear that. Broke my heart.
Yeah, I haven't heard that. I was listening to Eddie Trunk today on Volume on Sirius XM, and they actually had him stay over an extra hour because, I mean, obviously he's more of an expert than some of those hosts are.
Well, he discovered him.
He might have. I mean, I'm not gonna shit on that point. He might have done it. But
Eddie discovers everybody, by the way.
He was saying that apparently he took a bad turn in the last 3 days.
Yeah.
Now, all Eddie Trunk was talking about was his throat cancer. So I've not heard anything about the brain cancer. You know, we don't know anything more than what TMZ.
The throat cancer spread to the brain and to other organs. That's what's been...
Wow. See, I even haven't read any news. I have just been on my phone texting. I mean, everybody's been bombarding me with stuff, and it's just fucking sad, man.
He's been flying to Germany for a while.
5 years?
I mean, I don't want to say how long. I don't know. I mean, it's been a while, but he's been flying to Germany to get different type of treatments that you can't get in the States. So, yeah, it's just, and it kind of, you know, it's negative, but when I hear that, you know, he passes away, one of the first things I think about and I get pissed off about is just how much time to us as a fan that seemed to be wasted. If you think about Van Halen 1 to Van Halen 3, so the whole Roth era, the whole Sammy Hagar era, the Gary Sharon era, not 78, let's just say 78 to 98, that's 20 years. Van Halen really didn't do shit from 99 to present.
Yeah.
I mean, that's longer than the whole period that we really are focusing on. They did one studio album that was basically made up of demos from you know, the past. There was a live album. There was a greatest hits package with a few new songs from Sammy, but even Sammy said it wasn't like he could get anything from Eddie. It was he had to basically get tapes and mash stuff together to make a song, and you know, like, you know, really Eddie wasn't giving him anything. So when I think, you know, when I hear that, it's like, damn, man, all those years. To me, I mean, again, if he's happy and he's on a beach and stuff, obviously, you know, who can blame me? But as a fan, you're just like, all those years we didn't get anything, and just
and now we'll get nothing unless there's stuff in vaults.
Well, I know.
Well, there's plenty in vaults, I'm sure.
There's probably nothing with lyrics, but you know, music.
But that could be done.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what they did with Right Now. I mean,
Oh.
that was a perfect example of that. And you think about other bands too, Kiss. And I'm really talking like, you had them weird years from like 2005 to,
2009.
Yeah,
Kiss,
somewhere
yeah.
just, some wasted years, and even Night
Well, Van
Ranger.
Halen,
Night
Eddie had
Ranger
some
had
drug problems going along that, off and on, supposedly. Even when they got back with Sammy, Sammy, said that was miserable for him.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's
Sad.
And it sucks because I know Sammy had reached out to Eddie a few times. Just basically, Sammy's thing is, hey, we're not going to be here much longer. Let's just bury the hatchet. I don't even care if we record or do anything. Let's just, sit around the house and bullshit. And I don't think that that ever got to happen. And
There was a social interaction. I think Eddie wished Sammy a happy birthday, or was it?
Sammy wished Eddie a happy birthday, and Eddie, replied back.
Yes,
But
that was about it.
That was about
that
it.
I know of.
But Sammy was always out there saying, "Hey, man, I don't care if we do anything music-wise. Just I'd like to be buddies with him again before we leave the earth." And then you had the whole Michael Anthony, thing. I mean, they basically made Michael Anthony sign everything away to do that 2004 tour. And Michael Anthony, his thought was, if this is going to be the last tour, I want to be on it. And after this, I'm kind of done with everything. So, Michael Anthony signed everything away for Van Halen. And I don't know if he ever really got to make up with them now. There was the reunion tour that was supposedly in works about a year ago that came to a screeching halt. But Michael Anthony's talked about that. He never talked to the brothers. It was more through managers and lawyers, and he's basically said yes. I'm not even sure if anything was ever signed, but then it just basically went silent. So, yeah, just a lot of lost opportunities, and we're lucky. We're lucky we all lived at the same time Eddie Van Halen lived.
I apologize. I have to unlock my door so my child can get in. I apologize.
Go ahead. We'll talk amongst ourselves.
So,
I've often said, Josh, and I don't know if I should wait for Brent on this, but I'm not a guitar player. I'm a drummer, but I'm a music fan. Oh, there he is. Wait for him to cue back in. Brent, I was just going to start a quick little.
Sorry about that.
My thoughts have always been, and I've played in bands since I was 13 years old, so I have a lot of friends that are guitar players. And there's no way to prove this. I just love these conversations that we used to have. And when you talk about influence, my contention is Eddie has got to be, if not the most influential guitar player that we've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that, I'm not saying he's the best, although there's a conversation there too. When I would have these conversations with my friends, and we have some guitar players that are on the page, so they can definitely chime in, and I hope that they do. My point is, if you step back from the big picture of rock and roll, who do you think made more people pick up an instrument, a guitar specifically, than Eddie? And I know people say, well, Jimmy. Yes, I'm sure Jimi Hendrix did, and I'm sure Jimmy Page did, and I'm sure Lennon and George Harrison did. But was there ever a heavier influence of one guitar player than Edward Van Halen? Because the Sunset Strip was nothing but guys trying to be Edward Van Halen.
Well,
I'm talking style.
I think, to me, is who changed how you played it. I think Jimi Hendrix comes first, and changes how guitar really sounds. Hendrix, and then I think Jimmy Page kind of fits a little bit into that. But then you go to a higher level, I think, with Eddie. Eddie changes everything. And I mean, think about Guitar Gods, and you think about Tony Iommi, right? And Tony Van Halen opened for Black Sabbath on Van Halen's first tour.
Yeah.
And it was almost like the writing on the wall. I mean, Tony Iommi said this is, here's Tony Iommi playing, these riffs and how heavy metal was, and then Eddie Van Halen opens up for them, and he's like, we knew we were the past, kind of.
Yep.
And I think really you had two, with the music that we like, hard rock, commercial hard rock, heavy metal. Two guitarists really changed the sound and the playing. The first being Eddie Van Halen, and the second being Randy Rhoads.
Yes.
And you may have had hot guitar players after that. Yngwie Malmsteen, George Lynch's, your guitar gods that people liked.
Lynch is God.
But
well, the keyword.
I said Lynch is God.
The keyword you said is after.
Correct.
Van Halen.
But before Eddie, there's one guitar god you're leaving out of it. Ace Frehley.
Well,
Ace
here's the thing.
Ace Frehley doing tapping, but he was doing it with his pick and not with his fingers.
No one cares about that. Ace Frehley might have influenced people to pick up the guitar, but he didn't change how they played it. No one's out there going, "Hey, I hear Ace Frehley," and that person's. Do not bring up Ace Frehley when we're talking about Jimi Hendrix, Randy Rhoads, and Eddie Van Halen. Not even in the same. And you're talking about him picking something. Ace Frehley,
Ace Frehley's.
Yeah. All right. Let's put Eruption against the opening of Cold Gin, and yeah, no.
Well, so that's exactly what I'm saying, Josh. So get it back on topic here, and you, Brett. I love Ace. I'm not ignoring Ace. My point, like I said, Edward changed how people played songs, how they played the guitar. We didn't have the tapping, as you say, until Edward showcased it in Eruption. I mean, this was a freaking guitar solo on an album that everybody was humming, a freaking guitar instrumental. They don't do that to Fractured Mirror.
No, they don't. Well,
they don't do it to Mr. Scary. I mean, I do, but no one's. I mean, I just looked it up. I believe Van Halen, the first album, went 10 times platinum. 10 million copies of that album, just in America.
Just in America.
Probably one of the best debuts too. And the reason why we're doing an Eddie Van Halen tribute is because, I mean, if there's a Mount Rushmore.
Oh yeah.
Okay, if there's a Mount Rushmore of guitar players, he's number 1 or number 2.
He's on it.
And if you did even a Mount Rushmore of hard rock, where maybe you put Ozzy Osbourne, you're looking at singers and everybody. It could be Ozzy Osbourne, Eddie Van Halen, John Bonham, and, Geddy Lee. You know what I mean? Like, if you're doing, he would even be beyond guitar players. And I think if fucking aliens land here and they go, hey, the one question we got is, what's fucking rock and roll?
Van Halen won.
I'm putting in, something by, Panama or, Running with the Devil, Eruption. I mean, that's where you're going. And that's the reason why they're in so many movies and everything else. It's just because it captures rock and roll. And it also, I mean, think about all the like these 80s movies, Hot Tub Time Machine and all that stuff. When you want to, hey, we're doing an 80s movie, what do we put in here to say we're in the 80s? It's always a Van Halen track, with them, in their 80s outfits that no one ever really wore in the 80s. So, I mean,
some of the kids in my school wore them. Trust me.
Well, it's like everybody.
I'm tempted. I'm looking at you.
Like everybody, like dresses like the 80s. Like the girls are all in like knee warmers and like leotards and shit. I'm like,
that happened.
That
happened.
If I could dig out a yearbook, Josh, you'd be disappointed and surprised. But I know what you're saying. It wasn't as rampant as they make it out to be. But it's. I'm still kind of shocked. Like, I don't even know how to process this. This is one of those that, while we knew it was coming, like you said earlier, you're just not ready for this. And I know a lot of people. I've had conversations with people when a celebrity dies that they get all, Well, people don't give a shit when firefighters die or soldiers die every day. Yes, I totally agree with you on that. This is just a nod to someone who is part of almost everybody's life that we know.
You know what? If someone says that to you, tell them to fuck off. All right? Because there's nothing wrong with feeling sad or mourning.
Yeah.
A musician or an actor whose creative force has bettered your life. And these people, musicians or actors, have been in our lives almost all of our lives.
Yes.
And they are connected to memories, good times. When you want to relax or have fun, what do? You watch a movie or you listen to music. And they almost become a part of your life, especially Eddie Van Halen. You guys growing up, you guys were buying the magazines, and, you know, these guys were on a pedestal.
It was the soundtrack of our life, Josh. I mean, Brent and I mean, how many times, Brent, were we out cruising around with 5150 being played? Best of both worlds, you know.
So there's nothing wrong with mourning a celebrity who's given you enjoyment. All right?
Yeah, I agree.
And you know what? They don't need to throw the goddamn guilt shit of, you know, firefighters or, you know, all that shit. Like, what's the stuff about, you know, these are just overpaid millionaires, you know, they get, you know, baseball players, you know, these soldiers, you know, should make just as much as the millionaires. I was in the fucking military for 17 years. No, I shouldn't. You know why? Because no one pays. It's a business. If I could hit a fucking curveball, you know, I should make $10 million if that's what my market is. It doesn't make me any less, but it's just realistic, you know.
Yeah.
And it's the same fucking people that, celebrities and music and all that stuff. But, you know, when they're one person that they like, you know, dies,
absolutely,
you know, the fucking author or something, you know, because they're usually elitist, you know, dies, they'll make their little poignant, you know, so fuck them. You know?
Well, that's what I always say. Is like when someone that you care about dies, we'll have the same conversation, and I'll be waiting to have it. And I don't want to be a dick about it, but my point is I'm still like processing. Like, I don't even understand this. Like, I was down here working in my basement, and I got a message from Josh, and I was like, what? And then another friend just sent me a thing that said EVH. Oh man, and I'm like, oh man, what? And that was just 2 hours ago, roughly.
And it also speaks on your own mortality. It's like almost like I'm next, you know, kind of thing. It's like I saw Van Halen in 1995, and I got to thinking about it. Holy shit, when I saw him in 95, which seems like yesterday, he was younger than me. You know, and it makes you think a little bit about life and where you're going.
Yeah.
And we've almost seen these guys grow up. How old was Eddie Van Halen in 1983, 84? He would have been in his mid-20s.
Yeah,
or late 20s.
He's 15 years older than me and Brent, so in 85, we would have been 15. He would have been 30.
Okay. So we've basically known this guy since, you know, his 20s and 30s. We've seen him basically go from, you know, that age to an old man and now dying, and you can't help but be impacted by that. So, you know, anybody that wants to give you shit over it, just punch him in the fucking nose.
Yeah,
well, Brent,
I remember.
So tell us about, you and I saw him.
I want to tell a story real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
This is kind of cool. Back, gosh, Andy, when did my dad change jobs? 1981, something like that. Anyway, my dad worked for a trucking broker, and the brokerage firm did a lot for General Motors. Well, my dad, it was a new company, and he got really good with the people from General Motors because of the owner of what they were called American President. Took my dad out to California, and he met the Bertinellis.
Oh, really?
And in fact, the car, the Beretta, was made for Valerie Bertinelli. That's where the name came from. You don't know that. I don't think I've ever told you that.
No.
But I remember they came back into town, and I had to eat dinner with these people, and the president says, Brent, you know who Eddie Van Halen is? I was like, well, yes, I do. And he said, I had to go to his wedding. I've never seen so many damn freaks in all my life. Here I'm in 7th grade, going, oh my God, he went to Eddie Van Halen's wedding. I thought that was amazing. That's just a story I wanted to share because that's not anything anybody's ever, it doesn't ever come up. But yeah, so if you want to know about the Beretta was supposedly named after Valerie Bertinelli. That was the car that her dad, I guess, he was a bigwig at GM, is what I was told at the time.
Well, I'll be good.
Now somebody's going to fact check me, and then it's going to Well, you know what? So if you do, you do. And oh, by the way, Andy, I got to do a correction.
Okay.
When I told you, what's his face was in Chilliwack.
Yeah.
It wasn't Chilliwack.
Oh.
It was the other. It was She Don't Want Me Anymore. Who was that?
Steel
Wheels.
Wait,
yeah, Steel Breeze.
Don't have their greatest hits.
That's who I messed up when I went to tell you. And I've been meaning to tell you that for weeks to the correction, but I was going to do it on the podcast to show that,
Yeah.
We get going and we just start throwing stuff out there, and
you can be fallible.
Well, I am
or fallicable.
So in any event, but what were you going to ask me about Mr. Edward Van Halen?
Tell a story. I mean, Josh mentioned he saw him in 95? Did you say, Josh?
Well, one little story is when I was younger, my aunt, who was a teenager at the time, I was 6, 7. I remember she had that infamous David Lee Roth poster where he's staring into the mirror or whatever, or something like that. And to me, as a 6-year-old kid, Van Halen was David Lee Roth. Like, that's how I associated with it. And I had gotten 1984, and I remember when my aunt told me or pointed to a picture or something of David Lee Roth and said that he left the band. I remember asking, how can Van Halen leave Van Halen? Like, I thought he was Van Halen. But before we get into that, I've talked about this, I think, on a few episodes where this Christmas of 1984, I got 6 rock albums. I was 7 years old. And I talk about, getting both Night Ranger, Dawn Patrol, and Midnight Madness. The other 4 albums I got was The Cars' Heartbreak City, Van Halen 1984, REO Speedwagon, Wheels Are Turning, and Huey Lewis Sports. I don't know my history of Huey Lewis so much, but I do know, I think one of those guys have passed away from that. And obviously Huey Lewis in the news not doing much anymore because of Huey's hearing issues. But you think about REO Speedwagon now, like Night Ranger, they still tour. But they've got Gary Richrath on this record has passed away. So there's a member on there has passed away. And if I remember correctly, maybe REO Speedwagon's released 1 studio album in 25 years. So again, Night Ranger, I mean, think about it. We've had, the last decade's been great. And the Cars got the same time, they were basically pretty much done from 1987 on. And I mean, think about the Cars. Rick Ocasek and Benjamin Orr are both gone. And Van Halen now, with Eddie Van Halen gone. So all those albums, and you think about all those guys that are no longer with us, and think about Night Ranger, all the guys are still there doing stuff. And the last decade we've had with all the studio albums and live albums, we've really been lucky. I just wanted to stress that with all the other records I got at the same time in 1984 with Dawn Patrol and Midnight Madness. And that's why it stings when someone like Eddie Van Halen, dies, because I got that when I was 7 years old. My Fisher-Price radio player, record player played that. And so, that's been my whole life. And suddenly the person who was in my whole life giving me this music and memories is gone. So there's nothing, like I said, you have every right to mourn celebrities and musicians if you want.
Well, Brent,
I remember.
We saw that show, right?
That's what I was going to bring up. That was our 3rd concert. Our first concert was August 22nd, 1982, Loverboy. Second concert was January 9th.
Yeah.
Kiss. And Night Ranger. And then this was March. I don't recall, but it was March. It was the first night in Cincinnati, Autograph and Van Halen. And I remember looking at Andy and my sister going, no, autograph got no love. I mean, we later found out that David Lee Roth made a bet that they were never going to be able to make the entire tour, and if they did, they'd help get a record deal. That's supposed to be what the story is. I don't know if it's true or not. But seeing Van Halen was, I mean, I remember we were in the bowl at the Cincinnati Gardens on Eddie's side, straight back on the right, looking at the stage, right as the bowl turned to the lower section, and it was amazing. I was blown away. I'd already seen Kiss. I mean, Kiss blew everything up. Loverboy was great, but seeing Dave doing the splits off the drum riser, Eddie doing his little Super Mario jump, listening to Michael Anthony hit those high notes, Alex Van Halen setting the gong on fire and just smash. Oh my God, it was just.
It was legend. It's stuff that people still talk about so many years in the past or in the future.
And their lights. I remember it was the lights were all silver. I'll never forget that hanging above the stage. We thought that was so cool because before that all we ever saw were black lights. Yeah. These were all chrome looking, and that stage with the backdrops and this looking like a city and.
The two things that stick out in my mind, Brent, and you, of course, you have better memories of my life than I do.
That's all your drugs you did.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
no, you didn't do drugs.
We can edit that out. Weren't we like way back, almost against the wall? Weren't we that far back in our seats? Were we up close?
No, we were in the bowl. Like I said, we were in the bowl of the arena.
Weren't we all the way back?
Well,
like
in the
way up in the back seats.
No, we were in the lower bowl.
You had a great time, Andy. I don't know if you know that.
Apparently. And well, the one thing I do remember is it was fucking loud.
And sold out.
That thing was so loud. I was like, we're going to be deaf.
What's sad
is it was worth it.
What's sad is the Cincinnati Gardens are gone, and so is Eddie now.
Yep.
Do you guys remember where you were when you heard that David Lee Roth was no longer in Van Halen?
That rumor had circulated around for quite a while, especially when he came out with Crazy from the Heat. That was rumor was he was already out then. And they kept back talking that like it wasn't true. And then I think I heard it on the radio.
And Josh, you're probably, again, you were what, 7?
I would have been, well, I turned 8 in 1985 this summer.
Yeah, so you're too young to probably remember any of that. But when the biggest hullabaloo was Eddie playing keyboards on this album, and that it was going to change Van Halen. I mean, it was like, all the magazines were talking about it's Van Halen, as you know, it is no longer going to be Van Halen and all this crazy stuff just because he wanted to play keyboards.
I remember being 7 years old and getting, 1984, and of course I got it for Jump and Panama and Hot for Teacher. And I remember listening to the album, and I remember I listened to like I'll Wait, and it just took me that one time. It's like on my Fisher Price record player, I'll Wait came up and that keyboard started playing. It was done. Even though I liked Night Ranger and they had keyboard stuff, it's like at 7 years old, if I'm going to Van Halen, I wasn't going for, now I like it and everything, but I just remember, nope, that's not what I came to this record for.
It was a crazy time. I mean, Brent and I, you got to remember, it was just you would debate it, and then of course when Sammy joined the band, it was such a division of Van Halen, Van Hagar, and I was like, why can't we like both? I like chocolate
then we
and
had
peanut
Fitz
butter.
playing keyboards for Van Halen, so it all ties back into Night Ranger.
And remember, I'm 7, 8, 9 years old from 84 to 5150, and it transcended music. Like it was I mean, I knew about Sammy Hagar joining, and just like it was bigger than just this member leaving this band or something like that. It was like almost outside of music news. It was news in general. And I still remember when I'd been 9 years old, I still remember hearing Best of Both Worlds for the first time. And I had liked Sammy Hagar solo as a kid. So to me, it just made sense. and I enjoyed it. But did you guys? When did you guys first see him with Hagar?
At the 5150 tour, that we saw them.
Dayton?
Gosh, I think no, it was Cincinnati Gardens. Mountain opened up, or no, pardon me, not Mountain.
BTO.
It was BTO, but yeah, as I affectionately called them back then, Bachman Turner overweight. But
we have no room to talk currently.
No, not anymore. The thing with that tour was, I know they opened that tour a month before the album came out, and I think the week they were here, I think the album had just come out that week. Because we got them pretty early on that tour. We didn't go to Dayton to see that tour, Andy.
I had a 50-50 shot when I guessed where I saw.
It was Cincinnati Gardens.
Sounds good.
We were on the left side of the stage. We were on Michael Anthony's side of the stage for
back
that.
Wall again?
No. We were like section 315,
You had a good time, Andy. You it was fantastic. I think you got a shirt that show. It was awesome.
I did a lot of coke back then.
Got the white T-shirt with the straight jacket, with them all in straight jackets, and Sammy sitting in the chair.
I wish I had all them shirts.
That's
now.
a shirt I had.
Now
let's talk about something important.
Hold on.
Sorry about my voice.
Now, one thing you guys never got to experience. Now, you guys talk about being Kiss fans when it wasn't cool and stuff, but when I was in freshman in high school, maybe a sophomore, but freshman in high school when grunge hit, okay, and it was almost overnight where you could like bands, Whitesnake, Guns N' Roses, all those bands, and almost overnight, nothing.
Yeah.
You were uncool if you liked any of those bands, and MTV got rid of all those bands, and suddenly it's Smashing Pumpkins, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. And think about Billy Madison. Remember he pulls up playing REO Speedwagon and he's laughed at? Remember the band he hires is a hair band and it's a joke. And that's how it was the whole time I was in high school. There were two bands, though, that transcended that, all right? Van Halen and Aerosmith. They were the only two bands from the 80s hard rock, and maybe, you could think...
Firehouse.
Firehouse is before, yeah. Well, Firehouse was probably... They got lucky they got that album in.
Hey, they and Mr. Big both were having hits during that time.
No,
I never bought anything.
That was that's 1990.
It wasn't Warrant, I'll tell you
that's
that much.
Still almost two.
I have a Warrant story for Josh here in a second.
What I'm saying is that's still 2 years before grunge really hit in late '91. Yeah. Firehouse hit in '90, Mr. Big hit in '90, Damn Yankees hit in '90. That's the last hurrah. Then you start getting into a lot of these like Babylon ADs and stuff like that. That it was definitely getting saturated, and you knew something was going to change, but. Everything. If I mentioned Damn Yankees, you were laughed at in high school, or Whites. They were all jokes. Yeah. And like I said, even in Billy Madison and other movies, they show you how it was. Aerosmith and Van Halen were two bands that somehow seemed like, didn't get touched. I was a big Kiss fan. I wear Kiss shirts. Kiss was the same as all those other bands. They were a joke. The only two bands you could have any credibility wearing in high school in the early to mid 90s, Van Halen and Aerosmith, and somehow they were able to skate by. And my first time seeing Van Halen live was the Balance Tour in 1995 at Hare Arena in Dayton. So
I was probably there.
Maybe. We'll just
I
say
wasn't.
I wasn't.
We'll just say you were, and you had a great time. You were up towards the back.
I was at the back, though, wasn't I?
And so, what I remember about that show is, number one, it was the most expensive ticket I had bought at the time. Before that, I had got pavilion seats for Aerosmith at Polaris, which is amphitheater, towards the back, but it was $23. I was like, holy shit, $23. The year earlier, I saw Metallica and three other bands for $18 at the same place. So $23 Aerosmith, and then this would have been probably February of '95 that these tickets are going on sale, and I spent $28, $27 on Van Halen tickets. I was like, God, I can never do that again, right? Because most tickets back then were, an arena was about $18.50, and if you went to a club, $10 to $12. Yeah. That's usually, general, right?
I'm gonna go get my Van Halen ticket right over here.
Yeah, but you're about right.
Yeah, so
it was affordable.
Correct, and $27 when you make. I was making minimum wage at the time.
$3.85,
$4.25, I think it was. I may have made $4.50, but that's a good little chunk of change.
Oh, trust me, I was probably still making $4.25.
So, what was unique about that show? Number one is my mom. It was my senior year. My mom let me skip school.
Nice.
All of our parents, we were all, pretty decent kids. So, all our parents let us skip school. I went 2 buddies I worked with, and we drove out to Dayton. It was the only show of that tour that that Brother Kane, who has a Night Ranger connection with Damn Yankees, Brother Kane opened. Damon Johnson eventually being in Damn Yankees. And what was cool was the seats were actually front row side stage. I didn't know at the time, because most of the time your aisles go A to Z, and then they go double letters, double A, double B. For some reason, Nutter Center is different. It's double letters and then single. So we had double A. So we're right at the front row side stage. Now we're at the front row, and then there's a drop off, and then down in the valleys, the roadies and everything. Then the stage is out, 10 yards. So it doesn't like we were right up on the stage, but they opened up with Seventh Seal with, the chant or whatever, and it seemed to go on forever. Like it went on for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then all of a sudden they hit the stage. I remember why Sammy was doing something. I could see Eddie, because we were on Eddie's side. I could see Eddie down below, like he would walk down the steps below the stage to his little guitar area, and I could tell where he was at by his cigarette.
Yeah. The glow.
Yeah, there's the fireball. I could see his fireball as he was smoking down there.
Yeah.
And it was the day after the Oklahoma City bombing.
Oh, wow.
So it's the day after, and Sammy Hagar came out, and he did an acoustic version of Eagles Fly. It's just one of those things you'll always remember. And then, like I said, we were on the side stage. So we're kind of like, even with them. I just remember Sammy doing the end of Ain't Talking About Love, where he goes, hey, hey, hey. And seeing I'm behind him, so I can see what he sees. And you see the stadium, the arena lights come up. And so you see the crowd, and you see them all doing the hey, hey, hey with him. Yeah. And you're like, wow, that's powerful right there. You don't usually see that because you're always, you're
part of it.
You're out in the crowd. But yeah, that was my first time seeing, Van Halen. And, I was glad I got to see them, because that was really the end of classic Van Halen, with Roth or Hagar, because after that tour, you get the greatest hits with David Lee Roth, and you get and before you get into your ticket prices, Brent, the second time I saw him was in '98 with Gary Cherone.
Yeah.
Now by that time I'd seen the Kiss reunion that had got up to $32. I'm like, all right, fuck it, I ain't doing this no more, right? After Kiss, that would be 96, 97. I did that. The first really big price jump in tickets was Van Halen, at least for me, where tickets were mostly $32. In '98, when I saw him in Cleveland with Gary Cherone, $45.
Wow.
That was a big jump from 32 to 45. That was the first time we're like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know what's really weird? I can gauge that stuff too with Van Halen, but even then, that was affordable. And it got to really about the early 2000s, like tickets started really escalating in price.
Yeah.
And the first one I really remember going, that seems a little fucking high, is the Roth and Hagar tour, like 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
It's like a pavilion seat was like $70 or $80. I'm like, all right, now you would pay it just because it's the norm.
Yeah.
But so what prices you got there, Turbo?
I've only found 2 Van Halen tickets so far. Hang on here.
Well, I'll tell you real quick, Josh. The first concert ticket price that put me back on my heels, and I actually said no, which I now regret, was the Hell Freezes Over tour, the Eagles reunion.
Well, that was the first $100 tour.
$100 ticket. I'm like, are you for what?
Yeah.
It's like, no way. And I mean, I regret.
They screwed everything up.
I regret that now, but like you at that time, I wasn't making a lot of money. I mean, I was
that was
$100 I had to think about.
That was the catalyst for all these bands that we enjoy slowly getting back together from into the mid to late 90s, because it really pushed grunge. It started to push grunge to where you could really, what it did was it turned these bands that we love into nostalgia acts.
Yeah,
that's really what it did. I mean, think about it. It used to be you released an album and tour, and that really stopped that. Okay, we're not recording artists anymore. We're a touring oldies act, and Kiss did it, and a lot of those bands did it. So, but yeah, like I said, I saw Van Halen '95. It was great with Sammy. I still remember where I was when they released the greatest hits with the 2 new David Lee Roth songs. I was driving to a girlfriend of mine that lived like an hour and 15 minutes away, and the local radio station was hyping. Okay, at 5 o'clock we're playing this new Roth song, and I'm like, oh, that's gonna be awesome, man. I still remember where I was out on the highway when it came on, and I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, this isn't Roth. It's like he almost sounded like Sammy. It was Me White's Magic. That was a song that they.
God, I barely remember that song.
What sucked is I loved the direction Van Halen was going with Balance.
Yeah.
I mean, Balance was a great album. It was dark, but heavy. And Eddie was great.
I don't think I actually have the Balance album. I have to go through my stuff and see if I have it. I don't remember much of it.
To me, album-wise, Balance is the best Hagar album. 5150's close. And then they did the final song with Sammy on the Twister soundtrack, Humans Being.
Yeah.
And to me, that was just awesome. I love that. That dark, Van Halen was never dark, but they were. No. It was so good. And with Balance and Humans Being, I was so excited. What's the next album going to be? And Van Halen 3, there was so much hype. They kissed Eddie's ass so much for that album. Talking about how it was like return to their sound, and then I get it, and it's like it ain't a return to shit.
Yeah, it sucks because I like Extreme, I like Sharon, I love Van Halen. I did not see how this was going to happen. It didn't make sense to me. And then you told me the ticket price. I'm like, I don't know if that's worth it. And it's not a knock on any of it. It's just it wasn't for me.
I was.
Friday, March 9th, 1984, Van Halen. Ticket price was $12.17 with a 33-cent service charge, making this fucker's charges $12.50.
Screw Ticketmaster.
And I remember this is Ticketron, and I remember when the ticket.
Too.
Remember when they went up from a quarter? I was pissed because it was only a quarter to buy a ticket. And, when you scraped every little penny you had for cutting grass or whatever. Sorry, but that's the 1984 ticket, $12.50. The next ticket, I had to get a light because they're awful dark. This one is, this would be 5150. May 6th, 1986.
I remember it well.
$14.50 total for the 5150 tour.
Or shit.
Okay. This would be, as Boys to Men said on the Grammys, the Al 812 tour. That's what he said. And the Grammy goes to Van Halen, Al 812 instead of OU 812.
Yeah.
OU 812 tour, October 7th, 1988, $17.50. So they've gone up $5 since 1984. And then here would be the final time I saw them, which would have been on the Right Here, Right Now June 28th, 1993 at Riverbend. $30.
Wow.
And there may have been a higher price bracket for Van Halen when I saw him. So when I saw him on the next tour, and I said mine was 28, because I was kind of like on the side, so I would assume the floor tickets were probably more. So it could have been $35 for even those. But yeah.
See all the tickets from the 80s and 90s, all these concerts, and these are all Kiss tickets. Been to a ton of shows, and these aren't even all of them. Imagine if those were all Van Halen tickets. I'd really have some stories to tell.
But yeah, I mean, the one thing about Van Halen 3, the album, well, when they released Without You, the first single, I was excited. I'm like, all right, that song's fucking killer. Unfortunately, the rest of the album was not like that. My buddy, I fucking loved that. I just remember back then you would buy albums if you were out at night with your buddies, when it first came out, and you'd go back and, have someone older than you buy beer. Because I don't think we were not 21 yet in 98. And I remember,
were good boys.
And I remember us putting in Van Halen 3, and we're sitting there listening to it. And we get to the song Once, and we're already at the point where we're like, this isn't going how we thought. And I remember, my buddy had a little bit of a speech impediment, and we're in the middle of Once, and he just goes, I somehow feel like we're listening to Genesis. Which I've stolen that line before, but I was like, yeah, I was like, this ain't going exactly how I thought it was either. And even like the hard rock songs, Ballot or The Bullet, they were, I could hear that song on any other band's album. You know what I mean? Like, the thing about Van Halen, they were always unique, and there wasn't a lot of uniqueness on the album, but the tour was different. I almost wish they had done a tour first and then went and wrote an album, because the tour was great. They were bringing back all these great songs.
Yeah, they were playing stuff off Van Halen 2 and everything too, weren't they?
And what's the? I'm trying
Fair
to think.
Warning, Dive Down.
They were playing
Women and Children First.
They were playing the first album. They were playing. I Can't Wait to Feel Your Love Tonight.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And they played some Sammy stuff. Why Can't This Be Love? Live show was great. And we talk about, is there any unreleased stuff out there? They recorded, number one, there is a fully recorded song that was going to be on Van Halen 3 that they took off. And I think they put Josephina on there, which, again, I'm like, why the fuck would you do that? Because Josephina is the farthest thing away from Van Halen. I mean, but anyways, there's that track that's fully done, and then they recorded an entire second album with Sharon and shelved it.
Didn't they have something with Mitch Malloy too?
Well, Mitch Malloy was Sammy Leaves, so in between, or fired, whatever, and in between that and when they did the greatest hits and the MTV debacle with Beck and all that. Okay, so it's at that time, Mitch Malloy, who's now the singer in Great White, was asked to come out to Eddie's studio. They did, Jump and Panama and some of the others. They wrote a song together, which I don't know if that consisted of Eddie giving him a tape and him singing to it or making up lyrics. And they basically they basically said, you're in. Shook his hand, everything else, blah, 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 blah. He, I think, is living out on the East Coast, so he flies home. He can't tell anybody. But they have basically said that you're in the band. Eddie, Alex, and management. 3 days later, it's MTV Music Awards. David Lee Roth comes out and does his little thing. Pisses off the brothers and all that. Well, Mitch Malloy sees that and is kind of...
They were egging him on, thoe. They were egging him.
I don't know. But Mitch Malloy basically saw that and felt like they weren't honest with him. Now, I don't think Van Halen was going to stick with David Lee Roth. I think they were going to stick with Mitch Malloy, and maybe he even thought the same too. I can't remember that part. But he thought since there wasn't like 100% transparency, he went ahead and told them that he didn't want to be in the band anymore.
Oh.
So now he never told the story until recently. You can find his story on YouTube, and he does play at the end the song that he wrote with Van Halen. So that song's there. But yeah, you have that, which you can actually go listen to now. But like I said, In the Vaults has never been released as that second Gary Cherone. And then the only other time, I've seen him with every singer. Unfortunately, I never got to see, Roth back in the 80s because we never made that field trip in second grade. But I did see them in 2008. Wolfgang was on bass. Roth was singing. And it was not memorable. I was looking forward to it.
I couldn't do it. I just couldn't, not without Michael. I felt it was it was wrong.
His name's Van Halen.
I did. There was no reason not to have Michael Anthony there. Just
David Lee Roth had a great quote. He said, Van Halen, 3 parts original, 1 part inevitable. I don't know if I said that right. But, and I like that because, you know what? Maybe if they got rid of Michael Anthony and got, Jerry Dixon from Warrant, I might feel that way. But they got his son. The band's name is Van Halen. I can't really deny a Van Halen being in Van Halen. I got it. I still went. And not saying it was bad. I mean...
Yeah, it just wasn't memorable.
It just wasn't...
I've seen plenty of shows like it.
I heard Michael's vocals were there.
Well,
I heard his vocals were there, just like they were when Dave opened for Kiss. They were really there then.
Well, listen, let's take a jump. Let's do something here. I'm going to read something to you guys.
Take a jump.
I didn't even plan that, but I'll take that. I'm going to read something to you guys, and you tell me when I'm done just how freaking amazing it is. Running with the Devil, Eruption, You Really Got Me, Ain't Talking About Love, I'm the One, Jamie's Crying, Atomic Punk, Feel Your Love Tonight, Little Dreamer, Ice Cream Man, and On Fire. That's a debut album.
And they did it. They had more songs that were off of Van Halen too.
What's the throwaway on that?
Here's
Atomic Punk and On Fire. Those are the 2 throwaways.
Screw you, Brent Walter. Atomic Punk. I'll throat punch you for that song.
It's from the same guy, Ace Frehley. So
don't you fuck with Ace Frehley?
Dave's, man.
He's not even.
Frehley, by the way.
He's not even the best spaceman that they've ever had.
I'm just saying. Listen, we'll do that later. But that is a debut album.
Here's the thing. Album. They left off. This is just off the top of my head, not even thinking. They left off Somebody Get Me a Doctor. That was already done at the time. And A Simple Rhyme, which is off Women and Children First. That was done at the time. Those are 2 great songs off other albums. Yeah. And they could. And if you listen to New Tattoo, which came out, like I said, 10 years ago or so, a lot of those songs are from that era. And that album is great, even though all the songs are basically from demos. She's the Woman, stuff like that. So, yeah, it's definitely up there with one of the all-time greatest.
I mean, side 1 of that alone is just... Like, if you're trying to build Van Halen's ultimate set list, just the first album.
It's the same thing that Kiss has the same deal. Most of that album, it's their first album they play. And Van Halen... You can't go wrong with it.
Well, then you jump to the Van Halen 2. You got You're No Good, Dance the Night Away, which my band plays, and it's freaking amazing. Somebody Get Me a Doctor, Josh. Bottoms Up, Out of Love Again, Light Up the Sky, Spanish Fly, DOA, Women in Love, Beautiful Girls.
I mean, that album is...
That's their second album.
It's just as good. And it came out the following year. I listened to this album probably more than Van Halen 1 just because I heard... Yeah. All those songs on the radio so much. And I would, that's why I listened to all the other Roth albums, just because they
You
were
hear
great
everything
songs.
else.
Women in Love, Light Up the Sky. I mean, all those, you just can't go wrong. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at. I'm kind of scrolling through here.
Now that one.
What do we
could
got
this
here?
be? See, every time I will hear now, could this be magic? When Eddie gets ready to come on the solo, and Dave, my favorite part is always Edward.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And I Rob Tipton and I through high school when we always used to look at each other at school, and he'd go Edward, I go, thank you.
And what about this photo? I mean, when you think of iconic band photos, maybe Kiss, and I won't even say, I mean, as cool as the Kiss one on top of the Empire State Building, I don't think it equals Led Zeppelin in front of their, the aircraft and, his arms spread out. That picture right there.
I mean, look at that.
That, you can almost...
That's great, man.
Or, you could do this one too. I mean, the cover.
That's no Empire
That's a
State
great
Building.
shot.
I think Van Halen were what's it on the back of Van Halen 2, where Ross doing the splits in the air and it shows them all in their little circles, kind of.
That's.
I think that's a little bit more iconic.
Well, you know what though? I mean, think about it. We haven't even said 1984 album. I mean, everything about Van Halen was iconic. But this album, Women and Children First, and The Cradle Will Rock, Everybody Wants Some, Fools. Fools is maybe the only Van Halen song I never got into. Romeo Delight, which is awesome, from the U.S. Festival 1983. I forgot the fucking words. Tora, Lost of Control, Take Your Whiskey Home, Could This Be Magic, and possibly the only thing you could ever say is maybe a David Lee Roth Van Halen ballad in a simple rhyme. So even this album...
It's a perfect album, in my opinion. And you know who sings backing vocals on Could This Be Magic? I don't think she's credited. Nicolette Larson.
Valerie Bertinelli.
Nicolette Larson is singing on Could This Be Magic.
And probably my favorite album, Van Halen Fair Warning.
Finally saw the painting for that cover about 2 years ago. It's a huge painting.
I mean, because even the front and the back and the inside cover are all different, so it has to be pretty big because it's all from, like you said, the same painting. Mean Street, Dirty Movies, Center Swing, Hear About It Later, Unchained, Push Comes to Shove. So This Is Love, Sunday Afternoon in the Park, and One Foot Out the Door. Wasn't the most commercial album, and maybe that's why I kind of liked it, because it was a little bit heavier and darker. I mean, and think about that. 78 to 81, those 4 albums.
Yeah. Well, again, I'll say this, not to wash Eddie Trunk's balls here, but he had said that there's probably not a better 4 albums in a row than Van Halen's first 4 from any band.
I think the only thing that could compete with it off of the top of my head, I mean, without going...
I mean, without being fanboy, because we could obviously say Kiss.
I would say Aerosmith. I mean, you can't go wrong with the first 4 Aerosmith albums. I mean, those are pretty iconic too. I mean, Sweet Emotion, Mama Ken, I mean, all that stuff. Toys in the Attic, Seasons of Wither. I think it comes close. I don't think
we couldn't even hung Seasons of the Wither, could we, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to.
We weren't Aerosmith fans.
Well, that would be like someone saying Atomic Punk. I mean, Seasons of Wither is a song I like. That's a deep track.
Yeah.
No, I know the title. I just,
I think that's the only band that could come close with four albums, at least stateside. I mean, what did you guys think of this? Dive her down.
I was just looking at. I mean, again, look at that lineup.
It's great. You could tell they were either really tired, they were having problems.
It's a lot of covers.
A lot of cover songs. I think Big Bad Bill of Sweet William Now is cool that they got their dad Jan Van Halen playing the clarinet on it. I think that's awesome. I think the full bug, the full bug is just kick ass from.
Well, one of my all-time favorite Van Halen songs now is "Little Guitars." I mean, That's just a great song. I don't care what anybody says.
I don't understand it, but I love it.
You don't have to.
I was
Where have
reading
all the
the
good
words.
times gone? Come on.
Well, if I remember the story somewhat, they really hadn't had a big like commercial hit since Dance the Night Away. You had hard rock hits with Unchained and Cradle Will Rock. That's really about it. Even as great as the albums are, there were no big commercial hits. And I don't know if it was Ted Templeman or someone at the label, but basically their philosophy was if you cover a hit, you're already halfway there.
Yeah.
And that was the philosophy of, recording half of the covers, which, I think it was probably a combination of that and kind of what Brent said, probably tired and, probably
Strung out a little bit. I mean, I think it was a lot of in that recipe, mixed around with that band.
And then
that time
we talk about the first album. When it comes to 1984, I think House of Pain was available all the way back for the first album as well, and they just never put it on an album. It's either House of Pain or Drop Dead Legs, but I'm pretty sure it's House of Pain.
It's House of Pain, I believe.
But yeah, I mean, when I was 7 years old, this was rock and roll.
I always thought House of Pain was a throwaway off that album too. So,
but
it was one they tried to make work for too long and finally just did it.
And it was never my favorite Van Halen album. I always preferred basically the first four over this one. But
Top Jimmy, loved Top Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at that album, so you've got 9 tracks and 7 of them. The first 7 songs are just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
1984, Jump, Panama, Top Jimmy, Drop Dead Legs, Hot for Teacher, and I'll Wait. And an interesting thing, I'm sure one of you guys know this, but Michael McDonald is credited as a writer on I'll Wait.
That's because
is that the same Michael McDonald?
You're Michael McDonald, Andy.
You know what? There's a story. I've read that story and I can't remember what it is. I'm
trying to scroll through it on my iPad over here.
There's a story, and I guess I can't remember how it went. If he stumbled in the studio one day, drinking beers with Eddie or something. But that story, I'm pretty sure, is out there.
What?
That's kind of love you. I love you.
I mean, Hot for Teacher. Come on.
Well, those videos were so big for an MTV at that time. Yeah. I mean, they rolled MTV with Hot for Teacher. Yeah. And that's another like mystery out there. Like people can't find Waldo, like the actor. Yeah. They don't know where he's at.
Who did Waldo's voice? Ma, I'm not like other guys. What who did his voice?
Deborah Winger.
The late great Phil Hartman.
Oh, really?
That's what I read.
I'm gonna Google the shit out of that now.
Do it right now. Fact check me right now.
Google me right. I did know. I looked up and I don't really know why, except it was so smoking hot at the time. I looked up the girl, the Hot for Teacher girl.
Ooh, the blonde.
Yeah. She was
Cherry Long now.
Yeah, she's still around. I mean, she's still doing things.
Maybe we get her.
She's dancing in the streets or something, or dancing in the sheets.
So after Roth left, before they got Sammy, do you know who they were looking at replacing?
Patty Smythe.
Yep. I also heard that Sass Jordan was in there as well somewhere.
Yeah. Well, they were talking about doing a hit with various singers, or doing an album with various singers. And Patty Smythe, they were actually talking about doing a full album with.
Well, far as I know, they offered her the job, and she turned it down.
She was the warrior.
Well, shooting out the halls.
Bang bang.
It's well played, Brent.
But
well played.
But what did you guys think of 5150?
Loved. I'm using the word love here. Loved this album. It was it was a change, and I loved Roth. I loved the Roth era. But when you got there,
yeah, Phil Hartman.
All right, there you go.
In
Right.
your face, Flanders.
Yeah, let me write that down. Brent was right. Got it.
You won't
Young
have to,
The day Eddie Van
you
Halen
won't,
died.
you won't have to get
Brian
that notepad
Hitchcock.
out for another 10 years. The one song that
Fuck you.
I think the first song that they
Fuck
wrote,
you.
the first
Let me do it
song
one
they
more
wrote
time.
for this album, Andrew,
Summer Nights.
correct. That was a basically song that they were kind of working up with Roth, and then they played it for Sammy, and Sammy wrote the lyrics to some.
Did he just kind of the stories? Was he kind of just like scatting along, as I guess he tends to do, and kind of had the hook of Summer Nights?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I don't know for sure, but
I loved this era of Van Halen because it was MTV was so big. These guys at the time they seemed so genuinely happy to be playing music together. And that's not a knock to Roth. I love both camps, so I'm not going to pick one or the other. But my God, you watch the videos, you hear Sammy tell the stories. I mean, they look like they were just having the best time on stage. And I hate it that, not to make it all heavy and bring it down, but I hate that I don't know that they reconnected at the end. And I hope that Sammy and Eddie had a chance to talk before he passed. But God, what a great era of fun music. This 5150 was our soundtrack. It came out, in 86? Brent and I graduated in 87. This was in our car stereos. This is all we had. This was all the time.
and I think. Good.
Can I interject something real quick about
No, I
about Waldo?
think how they got connected. No, you're all right, Brent.
No.
I think how they got connected was
Claudio.
yes, and he is in the "You Can't Drive 55" video at the very beginning with that. Go ahead, Brent. But anyways, Andy, as I was saying,
Waldo, his real name. This is kind of freaky. David Van Gorder. He loses it with the Gorder, but David. I mean, that's just kind of coincidental.
You got to get him on. Josh, you got to interview him. Get him on.
There's articles out there about him where
when you said you couldn't, he was gone.
Well, they thought they had found him. There was a guy who had came out and said he was him. I can't remember the whole story now, and he went along with it, and it turns out it wasn't him.
Wow.
So they still really, as far as I know, have not found whatever happened to that actor, that guy.
Now, I saw the kid that they painted the 1984 cover for. I saw that surface about a year ago.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
And he was now in his 30s or whatever.
Doing a Night Ranger podcast.
It's
Josh.
Hey.
You can Google it, but there was a thing on Facebook about 2 years ago. It popped up.
OU8112.
Al 812. That's what he said. Al 812.
This is probably my least favorite.
Oh, you're kidding me. You're killing me.
It's not.
This is better than 5150 in my opinion.
Well, I'll say this.
Sucker in a three-piece.
I love When It's Love. I love Finish What You Started, Brent. You know my struggles with that drum beat.
And I got it nailed.
Now, When It's Love is probably
Wabo.
one of the best rock ballads out there. I mean, you can't go better than that. I mean, Sammy's voice, everything about the song, the hook. But
you know me, I love a ballad.
Yeah.
But no, I think that album is tons better than 5150.
I like it, but
It's smaller. It's rocking her. It's just, it doesn't. They got rid of all the electronic drums and, all fired up. And I remember thinking, what the hell was Apolitical Blues when it first came on? I was like, what the hell's this? But I still like it.
Well, let's skip ahead to For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge and talk about How You Love Your Baby's Pound Cake. Come on, man, that was a great song. And Run Around.
Yeah, I remember how everybody thought how Eddie was so innovative by getting that drill out, and the drill was all painted, and it turns out being Paul Gilbert did it first, and then they, But who cares?
But they did two different things. Not to get technical, but they did do two different things. Eddie just kind of ran it along the strings and got through the pickups. Yeah. Gilbert actually had pickups on a drill bit, which is insane.
Picks?
Yeah.
Yeah. You said pickups.
Screw you, Brent Walter.
Fuck you both.
This is probably...
You both go eat your bag of what Andy likes to serve up.
This is probably the height of the Hagar era.
Yes, it is.
And album-wise, I mean, I enjoyed it. It's got some of the songs, it's still iffy on, but my favorite, probably one of my favorite songs.
Run down all the tracks that you tell your favorite.
Well,
I'm just curious.
Top of the World's probably my favorite. I always thought that was a great track. Pound Cake, Judgment Day, Spanked, Run Around, Pleasure Dome, In and Out, Man on a Mission, The Dream is Over, Right Now, 316, and Top of the World.
Yeah, Run Around was my favorite off that.
So, and then you had the Van Halen Live album, which was a kind of a time period where a lot of bands were releasing live stuff. Again, it was height of grunge, but I still remember this getting a lot of play, and it's a lot of times you'd walk into record stores and it was all grunge, and this was like the one thing I could point to and go, okay, there's still something out there that I like. But it has a lot of For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge on here. They'd play Judgment Day and Spanked and In and Out, Man on a Mission live.
And there's a Japanese version with a 3-inch bonus disc that came with it, and it has Eagles Fly Live, and I can't remember the other one. I've got it. And it came with a yellow Van Halen guitar pick.
On here, the two Sammy songs they play is One Way to Rock and Give to Live.
Right.
So, and then the album that I remember going, we had about this time, 93, we had a cool record store open up in Lancaster called Sound Exchange. And, the ones in the malls were ones in the malls, but this was kind of more like local and had some bootlegs and stuff like that. And they would do cool stuff like Monday night open up at midnight so you could come in and buy this. And I was old enough my senior year, I was able to drive my car at midnight and go get this. And I brought it into school, and the couple buddies I had that still liked this music, they didn't know about it, number one. I don't even know if they drove or not, but usually it was on a Tuesday after school we would go get it. Well, I was able to come in Tuesday morning and go, look at this.
In your face.
Yeah, so I always enjoyed this album. Amsterdam may be the only song I never really got into. Big Fat Money, but Seventh Seal was great. Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do. Aftershock, Take Me Back, Deja Vu feeling. So some classic Van Halen stuff on there. Then the last Hagar era song would be that Humans Being from the Twister soundtrack, which I enjoyed as well. Well, then
now, did you ever see the Japanese version of that?
The Twister?
No, of Balance.
Yeah, you got where you have the two kids here. They had just the one kid on there, and for whatever reason,
the Japanese were offended by it. That's why.
So you have
seen Andy?
Yeah.
And what's cool is if there's not a lot of unreleased or B-side stuff for Van Halen, but the single for I Can't Stop Loving You has a non-album track called Crossing Over. Really, really trippy stuff. If you've never heard it, it's not like Van Halen's. Just best way I can describe it is really trippy. And if you got really good speakers and a sound system, after you've listened to it a couple times, turn down your left on one time, and then the next time turn down the right, and you get Eddie talking on one side, and you get Sammy singing on the other. If you turn down your left or right, so but it's a very cool song. Again, kind of trippy, but it's just this one unreleased track out there. It's on a single, which they really never did much of. And then you have Van Halen breaking up in 90. Well, not really breaking up, but Sammy leaving, Eddie coming back, and then you had the greatest hits. And they had the two new songs, Can't Get This Stuff No More and Me Wise Magic with David Lee Roth. And to me, both Me Wise Magic had, I think, some potential, but I don't think it lived up to it. The other song, like, I don't know, Feather in a Bucket or something, some shit-ass lyric. I'm like, once I got to that, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, they weren't good.
I mean, Meanwhile's Magic had some, like, the foundation of the song was good, but it just, they never built on it.
Yeah.
And then
I remember when WEBN played that for the first time, and it ended, the guy goes, I don't know what the hell that was, but that wasn't my Van Halen. He said something like that, and I was like,
Was that
had
Jay
to agree
Gilbert?
with him.
Huh?
I don't.
Was that Jay Gilbert, Brent? Do you remember?
Remember who it was.
Brent's freezing up a little bit.
So then 98, you had this, which, like I said, it starts out great with New World and Without You. And then you kind of go like One I Want, From Afar, Dirty Water Dog, Wants, Fire in the Hole. It just, Year to the Day's okay. I mean, everything's just okay. And just when you have, all that previous music, just okay was not good enough. Then you have the greatest hits that came out 2004. This is when they got back with Sammy and did a tour. They were supposed to do an album, but they couldn't get really Eddie to do anything. So that's when Sammy, from what I read, basically is going through tapes that he had, and he was able to piece together 3 songs. And if you listen to one of them, it definitely sounds like a piece of this song and a piece of that song, because it switches real quick. The 3 new songs were "It's About Time," "Up for Breakfast," and "Learning to See." "Learning to See" probably being the best of the bunch, but you got 3 new songs there, and it was supposed to be, like I said, a live album, or not a live album, a full studio album, but they just really couldn't get Eddie to do anything. Then the last studio album they ever did, released in 2012, A Different Kind of Truth. The first single they released off of this was a song called New Tattoo, which was a newer song that they wrote. Most of this album is based off of songs and demos that they had recorded in the 70s. But Tattoo was a new song, and when I heard it, it sucked.
Yeah.
Tattoo still,
I'm with you on that.
It still sucks. And all I could think about was, God, this album is going to be worse than 3. And I bought the album, and Tattoo's the first song, and after I spit up a little bit, it breaks into She's the Woman, and I was like, holy shit, this is... Now, I'd heard the demo and stuff, but it was great hearing that, and some of the demos have been retitled. I think Stay Frosty is a newer song. I think 3 or 4 of them were newer, with Tattoo and Stay Frosty being 2. I can't really remember the other 2, but great album if you take out Tattoo. So just put it in, skip track 1, and when I heard this, I was so excited, and I thought,
I never got it. After hearing the first song, I was like, I'm not even interested. And I'd kind of given up on him at that time. I regret that. But
if you have never heard this, and you're one of the 2 people listening, go listen to She's the Woman.
All right.
It sounds like classic Van Halen because it was. But, and Stay Frosty.
It's not as good.
It's still fucking good, man.
I didn't care for that album.
Get the fuck out of here.
I didn't care for it. I'm allowed to have my opinion.
Your opinion is wrong. When your opinion's wrong, you're not allowed to have it.
It wasn't good.
But then there's some Van Halen singles where, the thin singles they released throughout, the 80s and 90s, and you have, you can pretty much make another live album out of these. Why Can't This Be Love Live, Panama, Pound Cake, Love Walks In, Mine Oh Mine, Eagles Fly, and I'm not sure what's all on this one, but so those are out there as well. But yeah, it's just hard to believe, man, he's gone. This guy that gave us all this cool music.
Yeah.
I went ahead and pulled this up. I posted this a couple weeks ago. I stole it from the Kiss and Tail podcast, where the Van Halen got their logo from. Here, hold on, let me darken this up a little bit. Original Jimi Hendrix logo.
Oh.
Yeah, but we need to do a little bit of research into that. I'm not saying it's wrong, but someone said that only first appeared on a Jimi Hendrix
poster
that was released in like the early 80s. So it was actually released.
I haven't heard that.
I don't know for sure. I've seen that people talking about that. Like, that was never anything that was ever commercially out. Either it was either created after Van Halen, or it was never commercially available, so Van Halen would have never saw it to use it. I don't know which one it was, but from what I understand, it was like 79, 80, 81. It was somewhere in that era. I can't remember that it was released on a Jimi Hendrix like compilation album.
Yeah.
And that was the first time it ever appeared.
Pulling up the story that I had on it.
So, don't know.
Well,
what's funny is this So if you notice, though, the Van Halen logo from the 80s is a little bit different. It's this here, right? And then the one from Sammy Hagar era, it's kind of like, wraps around.
Yeah.
Sammy co-owned this logo with the other four guys, right? The other, Eddie and Alex Van Halen, owned some of the Cabo Wabo name. So when in '96, when Sammy's leaving, got fired, and everything's going through, they made the deal. He made a deal with their management. Okay, you guys want to own the Van Halen logo, just trade me back the interest you guys got in the Cabo Wabo name.
Yeah.
And we'll just, Sammy, so this is Sammy's side. That's what he told their manager. Instead of making a big deal, we'll switch and you can have the Van Halen name, that trademark, and you just give me whatever interest you guys got left in Cabo Wabo. Now remember, this is 1995. Cabo Wabo is nothing huge. Okay.
Yeah.
Now go 14 years later, and tequila, is taken off and everything, and that was a big source of contention with Eddie Van Halen in 2004. Was, you screwed me out of my investment. And it's like, it's your damn manager who made the agreement, the manager that you guys wanted to get, and I didn't. And it's like, I didn't screw you out as anything. So your damn manager's the one that agreed to it. I can't help it if he didn't tell you, or you guys weren't,
savvy enough to just hold on to it.
Well, it probably wasn't savvy at all. It was just, they were probably equal value, or if anything, Van Halen was, that interest in that logo was more. But Sammy eventually sold that Cabo Wabo for $70 million, I think.
And then started another company.
Yeah, so, and they would get in arguments on, obviously Eddie wasn't in the best shape of that tour, but one of the contract writers, or one of the contracts that Sammy signed, is he could not wear any clothing that said Cabo Wabo. So, key word is clothing. So he went and got a tattoo that said Cabo Wabo on it, and wore sleeveless shirts during the tour. And Eddie came up to him and kind of slapped it one night, his tattoo, and he goes, "That won't last." And he pointed to his shoulder, the Van Halen logo, and pointed to it and goes, "That will last." So, whatever.
They both will. It's a shame. It's a shame it turned into that. That's the sad part.
Well, you get all those wasted years, like I said, 1999 to really.
Yeah.
Obviously, maybe not the last couple of years because of health issues, but if you ever just read or talk to them, 5150, that studio. I mean, I think we all have an idea of it. And then I read Sammy's book, and I read Ted Templeman and Mitch Malloy, just all the other people out there talk about that. The place was a dump.
Yeah.
It smelled. The actual recording gear wasn't always the greatest.
Yeah.
Cigarettes everywhere, beer everywhere. The guys would just take naps in the middle of the day.
Oh, he was letting people live there.
Yeah.
Who was it? Was on Adam Carolla, Andy, that talked about living in Eddie's studio.
I don't remember.
It was
yeah, I know what you're
about
talking
a year ago. Somebody was on Adam Carolla's show talking about how he just lived with Eddie for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he was staying in the studio.
Well, and I'd say I don't know if we're ready to wrap this up or not, but not just with Van Halen, but all
Jay
these
Moore,
other.
I think it was.
I think you're right.
Was it Craig
All these-
Gass? Would have been
No,
Craig.
it's Jay Moore.
Craig Gass is a comedian as well. And
Yeah.
I don't know. So Jay Moore.
Yeah, it's Jay Moore. I'm
see.
almost positive.
All these other bands and tying it back to Night Ranger and we know these things are never going to happen, but with speaking of Jeff Watson and the guys, and I don't know what's waters under that bridge with these guys or any other bands that we love. But just time's getting away from everybody, man. You take this to the grave, this animosity, and I hope that everybody can at least find peace amongst themselves. Maybe if they never play together or work together again, but at least bury the hatchet and don't throw away what you had, over stubbornness.
Yeah, and we're not on the inside either. So,
well, you gotta look at it too. It's like, hey, that dude that you worked with from 1980 to 1985, reconnect with him, and say, hey, dude, I'm glad I worked with you. To you, it doesn't matter. It was work, and who cares?
Right.
It's just sometimes to the fans we see it as more. So
sure. Yeah, you're right.
Unless the person's initials are Vinny.
What?
Same way. Unless the person's initials are Vinny. Somebody else say the last. I ain't saying it. I ain't getting
Vincent.
sued. Oh. He who should never be named.
Well, he saved Kiss, but
well, no, he did not.
But
yeah, you don't want to go back and.
Well, and I'm not saying stuff like that. What I'm saying is iconic. Sammy and Eddie.
Yeah,
clearly had a major rift, and we all have seen the chronicles of Sammy trying to make amends with Eddie and the boys, and it never seemed to happen. And
and who knows if David Eddie really made up? Who knows? I mean, at least they buried the hatchet enough to tour together.
Yeah, and David did say, basically about a year ago, maybe not a year, yeah, probably about a year ago, said something like, listen, Van Halen as we know it is probably done.
Yep.
He said something else, I can't remember, but he goes, Eddie's got a story, but it's his to tell.
Right.
So I think probably, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, it's me who the hell, what do I know? But I would say that they probably had a chance to end it on good terms more than anyone else. And if there's an interview from, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe, where David Lee Roth is actually interviewing Eddie and Alex. And if you ever get a chance to find it, it's really good because these guys are talking about
they're just sitting in a room, aren't they, or something?
Yeah, like a little studio, and they're all talking about first meeting, and David staying over there, and David's talking about Eddie's parents and stuff, and it's really cool. You just really see when you take out all the bullshit. God, they were buddies at one time, and you kind of see them open up with each other. But
isn't it? I think it's for that album. They did in a little
it might
little
be
studio, and then they put on a show after that, like at a little club. I think they were on the stage talking.
No, there was no. I don't think there was any concert people or anything like that. I think it was just like a little studio they were in. It probably was for the promotion of that album, or one of the tours they did. But at least with bands we like, maybe they don't get together and tour. Because usually, I mean, it's like us saying, hey, your ex-wife that you were married to, 15 years ago that took your house, hey, you're getting older. You may want to make amends. You know what? Fuck that. Maybe I don't want to. But,
That's true.
And or when you say make amends, making amends is different than let's live together on a tour bus and do one last tour. You suddenly find the reasons why you guys weren't hanging out to begin with. So, yeah, it's just you hope that, all these guys, I mean, we're fans talking, hopefully how cool would it be? It's like, hey guys, Eddie Van Halen just died. He's younger than most of us. Let's maybe not do a tour, but let's do an album. Fitz and Jeff, something like that, and or a one-off. 15 date tour, something that's manageable. Just I don't know, something.
Yeah. Well, it's a sad day.
And what's crazy is my kid's 3.5 years old, and it's just like he's never going to know Eddie Van Halen as someone.
Who was he'll read about.
He was someone that was ever alive during his life, really.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. We're going to have more of it. Yes,
we are.
That's what's sad, but
I don't look forward to these episodes.
Well,
we're not going to do one every time somebody dies, but someone that big, sure.
Like I said,
legendary. I mean, we have a lot of bands we love that. I mean, look, I hate to say it, but Gene and Paul, they're old, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they both got good genes, from the parents.
Well, I mean, you think about this. I mean, I know it's totally off like the same type of music, but like Davy Jones from the Monkees, that guy was always in shape, and you'd watch an interview and what's your hobbies, jogging and shit like that, right? Fucking died in his early 60s running, jogging on the beach. So it's just, you never know. I mean, we didn't even mention Lee Kirkslake passing away. He was drummer for Uriah Heep, which Uriah Heep's a fun, interesting, different band from the 70s. Definitely a band that you can tell was in the 70s. It may not age the best, but still good. And then him and Randy Rhoads and was it Bob Daisley were basically going to be in a band with Ozzy called the Blizzard of Oz. And they kind of wrote a lot of those songs, off those first two albums.
Yeah.
And
not according to Sharon, they didn't.
Yeah, well, Sharon eventually, their pictures aren't even on the second album, even though it's him drumming.
Right.
But yeah, he passed away. Frankie Benali just passed away.
And slightly out of our genres, but you just had Mac Davis and Helen Reddy pass away. So
well, if you look behind my shoulder, you may see Mac Davis still.
I was going to ask who it was. I couldn't tell from here.
And Mac Davis wrote a lot of great songs. I mean, he wrote "Don't Cry, Daddy" by Elvis Presley sang, and also "In the Ghetto."
Yeah, In the Ghetto.
Big Elvis Presley song. I used to play a song at the jukebox a lot when I was in my bar days, a song called "It's Hard to Be Humble When You're Perfect in Every Way." And there was he had another big hit on there, "Hooked on," or no,
Baby, don't get hooked on me.
That was the
You ever read the lyrics of that song? That song's a little rapey.
Well,
I'm just saying, it's a little, I love the song, but dig deep in the lyrics sometimes, like, wait a minute, what's he talking about?
Next week, we'll be back to
the greatest band that came out of Santa Rosa and Petaluma.
We'll be back to the regular Night Ranger broadcast, but until then,
keep it up.
Keep it up.
Wow!
Stop doing the impersonation. Hey, you have to do a Fans in Motion Van Halen logo with the.
I did. I posted on the page.
No. With the this.
Sammy one.
But instead of VH, FIM. That stands for Fans in Motion.
You have your homework.
I saw the smoke coming out of the ears there.
No, there was no smoke coming out of the ears. It's just I'm glad you think I got that much time.
No, you
got it. Get your homework.
You got it, man. So next week we'll be back to the regular scheduled program. But until then, grab your favorite Van Halen album. And on the page, tell us what your favorite song is. It's always cool seeing what other people like compared to, like I said, I mentioned the song "Fools." That was the one song I never got into, but there's other people out there like that's probably their favorite song. So I always like enjoying seeing that. So Andrew, sign us off, man.
I wanted to say, Edward, thank you.
Thank you. That's about the best you can do, man. Eddie, just glad I was alive during your time, man, and you changed music for everybody. And rest easy, my friend.
Van fucking Halen.